Hello and welcome back to Chapter 3 of Higurashi. I have a theory. Nobody confirm or deny this. I don't think Satoshi left because of their uncle. I think, now we know more about Satoko. I think Satoshi left because of Satoko. Especially considering Satoshi left on her birthday. And, like, something isn't adding up. I think Satoshi left because of Satoko's behavior or something like that. And I don't know exactly what's going on, but that is a theory I am, like, gonna stick to for a bit until I get, like more information. There's just something there. I think it's Satoko. I think Satoko is, like, there's still abuse that is happening here. But, I don't know. Satoko still, like, needs help, but I think Satoshi, like, left because of her for some fucking reason. Anyway, that theory over. Theory over. Hi, Misla. We're about to get into this shit. Let's go. Abuse. Woo! And, on that note, did we have tips?
I don't remember.
Oh, let's find out. Here? Yes, that's chapter 8. We're gonna do 9 and 10 today. We're gonna try.
In that case, we probably have, like, this and...
One more stream?
Another stream, and another stream after that next week.
What's this one? Let me just
I
look.
think we did these. Maybe?
Yeah, you read these. Children with special needs. I see.
Yes, we did read this.
Yeah. This was the report.
We also had that fucking heart-rending tip with the genuine stats last time. Tip. Things aren't good.
Tip. Things suck. Alright. Alright. Nobody got their soups or nipas out, or greetings. So if you want to get those out before I turn them all off, there you go. There you go. Cal got the soup out. Good. Awesome. 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 Awesome.
I don't think we can Nipa our way out of this one, Rika.
You cannot see Happy Burger because my hands are covering it, so I apologize, but yippee. Okay. If we all got it out of our system. Nope. There's a mortis.
Alright, y'all got 5 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gone. You got that in. They're gone now. All right. Continue. Let's take a big gulp of water because I'm gonna have to read a shit ton.
Glug glug glug.
Okay, murder arc continues. Mion and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused.
First time he's done that.
Wow.
Every single run through, shall we say, so far, Keiichi has helped with the setup of Watanagashi.
He really has. This is okay. We're breaking the time loop somehow. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. It's important, Keiichi. The Watanagashi is important. What's wrong with you? The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world.
That's true.
I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate.
Oh, but don't let Keiichi fool you. It's not because that the Japanese police are like highly efficient or anything. They're just trigger happy.
God. I've read a lot of articles on trials with people brought up on false charges. At court, they consider whether the charges are false or not, but figuring out the real criminal is entirely out of scope. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. You just had to look at the inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. I love the loop on the shower noise. It like fades out and then fades back in. They dealt with all sorts of difficult to solve incidents involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes. Perfect crimes were skills of the gods, and in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling the curse of Oyashiro-sama, I understood. They must have been the works of gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods, those are perfect crimes. And I would be setting up my own crime before Oyashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes for 4 years in the running. Sorry, I got distracted, like making sure my tracking was okay. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame. But as systematic as ice. What? That's the coolest fucking line. Starting now, I need to retain both of those ideas within me. Modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. It's kind of stupid, Keiichi. Sorry. Sometimes kidnappings... Sometimes kidnappings involving disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as a basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night, for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. Hey, Mom! How do you kill someone?
We have this exact same conversation in Night in the Woods. Like with May and her mom?
Yeah! It's been a long time since I've played that.
Good game. What do I think is the most well-done perfect crime in all the mystery novels I've read is?
Yeah, well, you read quite a lot of them, right? I figured you might know a lot about them.
It's more fun to read them to find out. If I told you all the tricks right off the bat, there'd be no fun anymore.
It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow butter her up first and draw out an answer.
Of course. Well-done mystery novels, yeah. They all have a unique charm to them, so it's hard to say which is the most interesting. You'd really have to force me to pick one.
I didn't want to know which novels you liked. I wanted to know about the trick that made you the most surprised.
If it was really a perfect trick, the detectives wouldn't be able to solve the case, though.
That was true. Then there'd be no point.
Mystery novels are enjoyable because of the process of the mysteries getting solved. If it was unsolvable, it wouldn't make a very good topic for a novel. You hear that, David Cage?
I get it. Yeah, you're right. If the main character can't solve it, it wouldn't be much of a story, huh? That feels meta. Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. Oh, it's so meta! They were written so that you can get to the goals, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives.
By the way, Keiichi, do you understand that truly perfect crimes don't even become stories?
Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I'd never gotten to read it, but apparently one time a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently she was really into it. Don't even become stories. What does that mean?
Keiichi, what are the essential parts of a story?
A beginning, a middle, and an end? Yeah, that's basically.
Correct. The beginning, of course, is especially important. If there's no beginning, then the story never starts.
Well, yeah. If nothing happened, nothing would begin.
Right. Nothing happened, so there wouldn't even be an incident. Detectives wouldn't be called, so there wouldn't be any mystery. There would be no mystery, so there'd be no solution. In other words, it would be the ultimate perfect crime.
Wait a second. Could you explain that again? My mom just told me something absurd. And she was saying it so smoothly, too, so I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important just now.
It's not really that difficult to understand. The incident just has to never come to light. That's all.
Just has to never come to light.
For example, how about this? Say there's an old man living deep in a forest nobody goes to.
Uh-huh.
And one day the old man gets killed by an axe. And let's say the criminal was the old man's son. He went to the old man's house and they were drinking together, but they got into a fight and he killed him.
What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect crime.
But Keiichi, the house was really, really deep in this forest. So deep in the mountains that nobody would ever go out that far. Then his son would go back to town and say that the old man was doing fine.
What about that as a perfect crime?
Keiichi, this incident would only begin when it was found out that the old man was killed. If nobody ever visited the old man's house after that, the beginning would never occur.
The beginning would never occur.
So basically, the story wouldn't start. The incident wouldn't come to light, and they wouldn't call in detectives. And nobody would be suspicious in the first place, so there'd be no mystery. They'd think the old man was still living by himself deep in the forest. And the old man's face would appear in the sky, and that would be it. Something like that, you know?
That's amazing. That's a pretty great trick.
But it wouldn't be a novel. Mystery novels are for entertainment, after all. They can't be instruction manuals for perfect crimes.
I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash. None of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, it would basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious, but that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of Watanagashi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he had been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him, after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Where I'd kill him, how I'd do it, what time, and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I'd been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time, but if I could just get these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of Watanagashi, so as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more, but please, hold out for a little longer. I know you can't even last another second. I know that. But please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure.
There was a case in Florida,
Yeah?
I think, where a man and his car had gone completely missing for like months and months and months and months at a time.
Yeah.
No one could find him. No one knew where he went. No one really knew what he was doing on the day that he disappeared, beyond like some vagaries.
I think I know about this case, but go on.
And for months they didn't find him.
Mm-hmm.
Until somebody was looking at the overhead Google Maps of their local area.
Yep.
And they saw some weird occlusion in one of the swamp like ponds that were around the area.
It was like a retention pond, I want to say.
Yes, I think so. And very easily this person could have just brushed it off as not their business.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had, probably this man's body would never have been found. Because he got the proper authorities in and they dragged the car out, and he'd just lost control of his car, driven into the occlusion pond, and drowned.
Hang on.
But that's how...
Continue, sorry.
That's how easy it is to disappear. It doesn't even have to be intentional.
Yeah. I want to correct one thing about that story. Because you said months went by. It was 22 years.
Really?
Yes.
I couldn't remember. I felt like it was years, but I didn't want to be wrong, so I just came up with a safer bet.
I mean, technically, yeah, you could still say months, but it was 22 years.
22 years of the incident never starting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, when they found him, he was a skeleton in his car. Insane. I
imagine they could probably only identify him because of like the car.
Because of the car, yeah. I only knew like that specific detail because I had just watched a video on like multiple crimes that were found out through Google Maps. It was actually very fascinating.
Crimes is a weird word to use for this
well,
one.
Well, not crimes, but... like open cases or like missing person cases. Crimes. There was like a fucking mafia boss that went into hiding and like hid in like Spain or not Spain. It was somewhere in South America, I think, actually. And he had gone like missing, and they were looking for him for like 30 years or something, and they saw him on somebody saw him on Google Maps. And like in this separate country, because he was from Italy. And like they arrested him, and I was like, Jesus. But yeah, no, I remember that Florida one because I remember it was at least 20 years. So I was like, holy shit. Oh, yeah. It was absurd. It was because like the water went down because it was so hot, like because global fucking warming. But yeah, no, that was a good diversion. Good
also,
tangent.
Like bog bodies.
Yeah.
Where people are only found in the modern day after like being executed in like fucking 1100 PD or some shit.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's fascinating. All right, let me continue my narration. Outside, It was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point, it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. The sky was the color of lead. If I had heard a little bit of thunder, I'd definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. What is this music? Hang on, we need a moment. Do you hear this?
I do.
It's fucking weird.
Here's a fun fact. The guy who does the main music for Umineko got the job for that because he walked up to Ryakishi at a con once and was like, Higurashi is an influential story and one of the best pieces of writing of the 20th century. Your music sucks, let me do it.
Amazing.
Which I don't fully agree with, but also the moxie.
I think some of the music is okay, but a lot of it I'm like, what is going on here? Was there supposed to be a stream announcement? Usually, yes. Hello, Jordan. If you want to do it because Dino forgot, I would appreciate it, actually.
Silly old Dino.
Good old Dino, forgetting to post the stream announcement. Whoa! My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I needed to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received, being beaten to death. Awesome. Good choice. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with the blade would be more reliable. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Hello, Dragon Shark. But this was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. You just needed to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. Wow, imagine having that in America! So the blades...
Have that here.
God. So the blades available to me, even the longest ones, were still limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, a weapon with more reach, like a staff, would be far more advantageous. I think that's how you say that. It might not be quite as inherently lethal, but since you could just keep hitting the guy until you killed him, the end result was the same. So what's a staff-like deadly weapon? Terrifyingly powerful and also eminently portable. By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Of special note is the fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. Satoshi? I will speak about it later. Okay, fucker. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun, playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful even about that. That left school. At a location at which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course, there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went in the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of a strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe while no one was around, the desks creep about of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt.
I don't think they do that.
I think you're losing it, Keiichi. If I suddenly stepped into a place like that, would the desks in their surprise fly at me, crush my bones, and eat me alive?
Normal thoughts.
That's ridiculous. I felt regret at wasting valuable thinking time on stupid delusions. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker. One I had accidentally discovered one day. Here it is. Hojo. This has to be it. If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have 2? I'd made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't been interested, so until now, I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, I remembered the thing that had been in there. Had been there. Wait. Okay, I didn't miss anything. Scream. I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. Ew!
Yuck.
My face puckered up at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes. Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter's uniform and it. The one Satoshi used. The metal bat. Yes. This was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me, but this wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now, I just needed to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. You can tell the teacher really cares with how nice that little nook in the corner is. Yeah. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. Hold on, what is happening outside right now?
Watanagashi.
No, like outside in real life, there's like music.
Yeah, Watanagashi.
I guess Watanagashi is happening outside today. Weird. It's not June.
I can't hear it if that helps.
Oh, I figured. I think it was just somebody. I think it was. There are a few people on their bikes that are like characters around here. There's a dude. Okay, you can actually look this guy up. Canhead Keaton. He has a skin condition. This is a weird tangent. He has a skin condition where things stick to his skin, and he sticks cans to his bald ass head, and he rides around on his bike. That is one guy.
Why?
I don't know. And then I think he is the one who blasts his music. I think it might have been him, because I heard a bike out there, and there was loud music. But yeah, he just rides around and blasts his music and revs his engine. So that's pretty cool. That's all he has. Is he just sticks cans to his head and rides around every day. He's such a weirdo. I love him. But he's also very loud. There's just a few bikers that just pass me, and I'm like, okay. All right, continuation. We'd been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. What vehicle? What are we talking about? I left out the entrance and went over to the construction vehicle parked nearby. There we go. Okay. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. What kind of construction vehicle is that? It looks like a... There's a word for it. I forget. I quietly hid it in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none, because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off, and, from what my classmates had said, the thing had been left here for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years, you can't just suddenly start them up again. So I was almost definitely fine in this case. The sunlight was piercingly hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dulled thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple hits in the head, then looked around warily. Okay. Next, how to dispose of the corpse. Bury it underneath the vehicle. That's a good idea, Keiichi.
No one goes near the vehicle.
Hear that music again. It's so like far in the distance that you can't hear the vehicle, but you can hear, like I can hear the music. Disposing of the corpse. The ultimate way not to create a beginning was to not let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp, revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi village. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of the demons below the earth. That was how the stories went. If I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, then I felt that theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapon into the swamp. But they may have said it's bottomless, but I didn't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Rika-chan's mother drowned herself in the swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse too, it was rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. I never heard of the corpse coming back up or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse there too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it would be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But as for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they'd actually happened. There were no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and then not coming back up. Then what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him to pieces and hide him, but the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then where would I bury it? Was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I would want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand to make the location of the act and the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, and a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would head to from Satoko's house. I imagined a map of the area in my head, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. I didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Yagochi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he'd pass through these woods first. And nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Satoko's house or one or two other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went into the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Satoko's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. the question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? Yes. That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. I think he is probably already, like, considering he ran away after his wife died, I'm assuming his wife, Satoko's aunt, died. He's clearly afraid of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Of course he's going to be suspicious that somebody's going to try to kill him tonight. Come on, Keiichi. He's going to stay home. That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Or, I meant, whatever. I thought it was tonight. Would he go out for the festival, or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Satoko go to the festival? Satoko would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. This is the Okinomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? It didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police or the hospital, told him to come and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satoko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion. If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satoko would go to the festival, leaving the house. Keiichi, you're 14 years old. You probably sound like you're 14 years old. This man is going to hear a 14-year-old boy on the phone and be like, that's bullshit. It would be convenient if I could make Mion take Satoko to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Satoko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact and get her there. Satoko should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on our former peaceful days, and when she went home, everything would be over. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body, so it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me, while I was completely exposed as I buried the corpse. I had wanted...
You ever tried to shovel settled ground? For any reason?
I can't say I have, actually.
When I was, I wasn't too young. I was past the double digits. I think I was around 11. Me and a few neighborhood kids found unfortunately, a deceased baby bird in the woods, and them being younger children than me, wanted to bury it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was an animal to them worthy of the same burial that a human would have, so me, being the eldest kid, had to bury or dig out a 6-foot grave.
6 foot?
It was extremely fucking difficult. Settled ground is very hard.
Yeah.
Even with all the correct tools.
Ugh. Okay, I missed Sketch's message. His whole plan fully revolves around the vehicle, like he kills the guy by it, buries it under it, and everything would be really funny. He'd have better luck asking if his refrigerator was running. Yeah, absolutely. Also, I apologize.
Is your refrigerator running?
Hey, Tepe. You better go catch it! And then he hangs up, and then Tepe is like, oh shit, I better go catch my refrigerator! And that's how Keiichi is able to kill him. I'm sorry. I would like to apologize in advance. I know generally while these streams go on, the chat is usually not like too crazy, but I might miss some chat messages because I just get so into reading. So I
I'm not trying to break your
apologize.
kayfabe, I apologize too.
What'd you say?
Not trying to break your kayfabe.
No. I had wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew farther away. Hello, Stealth. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place.
They'll get ticks.
Digging a hole, huh?
Refrigerator, but I hardly know her.
Why is Moon Pie working? She's not.
She should be off.
She should be off. No.
Well, glad that was at a slightly less intense point to discover that.
Yeah. Apologies. Ba. Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I'd envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out here in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. Try redeeming Bad Spoony and throw something. Try. I'd manage with that. I wondered how big a hole would have to be to fit a human all the way into it. I'd probably have to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. This was probably all I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole. You know what? Oh no, why are the voices on?
Oh
There we go.
Now you can hear briefly Keiichi.
Why does he sound like an adult man?
Because he's being voiced by an adult man.
Why?
Because it's kind of intense to get kids to voice act this kind of shit.
Mm-hmm. I just got rid of Moon Pie, that's why I did that. I really want to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out. But Mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I needed to go back home and give Mion a call soon. I needed to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. I didn't decide on a time, but I would play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Would this really go how I planned? After all this, worries started welling up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience as this was my first time. Keiichi, do you really think you can kill someone and, like, go back to a normal life? Even if it was the perfect crime? You would be killing a human being.
It's something that weighs on you.
Yeah.
That's who it is.
I didn't have to know how. I didn't have the know-how, the knack, so it was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From the outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. I never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face, and he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have? All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned. But was the actual murder the most important part, what unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all of my perfectly concealed machinations, if I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it. After coming this far, you're pathetic, Keiichi Maibata. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder, to kill someone, for someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild, spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedaled my bicycle hard to get back home. I felt somehow unsteady, like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Maibata. If that will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution, then it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had.
Honk honk.
What'd you say?
Honk honk.
Honk honk. This feeling I had never went away that night.
There was a car outside, is my explanation.
Oh.
Outside of yours.
Oh, outside. Oh, I didn't hear it. It was the first time I'd be calling Mion's house. Also, I'm sorry for the ad that's played, guys. I'm sorry. It's just Keiichi, like, monologuing to himself. It's fine. I searched for her in the phone book the school gave me, then dialed a short phone number. The kind unique to remote places. Hello, Corgi. The phone's ringing. It was around dinner time. She would probably be home. But just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver. Oh, it's me again! Ah!
Sorry, buddy.
Someday Cal will be able to read. Hello, this is Sonozaki. Oh, I'm sorry for calling so late at night. Is this Mion? Huh? May I ask who's calling? It's me, Keiichi. Oh, Kei-chan. It's pretty late. What's up? What's up? Sorry.
She totally would. It's before her time, or after her time.
It's after her time, yeah.
But she would.
I don't know. That ad would have come out. I don't know, 10 years later since this story takes place. What, 83 or 86? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 15 years later. So, like, Mion would be, like, in her 30s, and then that would air on TV, and she'd be like, she would not stop. She would not stop saying it to everybody.
She'd answer, like, professional business phone calls with that. Uh-huh. And they'd be like, Sonozaki-san, please. But she'd be like, I am the leader of the Yakuza here? What are you gonna fucking do about it?
You will listen to me, what's up? She seemed to be in a weirdly good mood, and she drew her syllables out. What's up? Sorry. Right, it's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with her family having some drinks. Sorry for the late call. Do you have time right now? Sure. What is it? It's about Satoko. I heard her draw in a small breath on the other end. Satoko, she's in a pretty bad spot. I hope she's okay. The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her voice. She can't be okay. You saw too, didn't you? What she was like? She was completely worn out from all the abuse. We failed her all this time, and now she's become like that. We didn't fail her. Everyone tried their hardest to help her. But we didn't come up with anything, and we couldn't save her. In the end, we couldn't do anything about it, and now she's become like that. I guess you're right. All I did was watch, after all. So, well, couldn't we at least let her have fun for one night? Huh? Let her have fun? She's been so battered lately, you understand. That's why. I want you to take her to the Watanagashi Festival tomorrow. I don't mind, but why? Why? I want to give her a breather, at least for the festival night, you know? Even if it's just one night, if she can get away from her evil uncle, then I think she'll be happy. Even if it's only for a little while. Yes, but why? Why? Why what? I was having a little difficulty understanding what Mion was asking me. Why? Well, I mean, why don't you bring her, Kei-chan? Why do you need to ask me to do it? Mion was persistent about odd things. No, maybe it'd be better to say that she was sharp. I actually have something to do tomorrow. I can't make it to the festival, so I wanted you to take Satoko there for me. Something to do. It's nothing major. I'll probably finish quickly, but I might not be able to meet up with you all tomorrow. Hey, Mion, could I leave Satoko to you just for tomorrow night? Mion took a long time to give her reply. I got the feeling that Mion had been acting weird for a while now, like she was flustered by emotions or something. Hi, Blem. Don't take my glasses. Don't do that. And also, hello, Matthew. Hi, Spoon. Like I'm high up.
Why would you take their glasses?
They're mad at me making the WhatsApp joke. No. Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? Are you crying? I said no. I don't want to. I don't want you to push this onto someone like me. I'm not trying to push anything onto you. It's just for tomorrow night. That was a lie. What? Mion, what was she talking about? Saying it's just for the night of Watanagashi, and then it was forever. Liar. But I guess we're even, huh? I couldn't keep the promise I made with you. I left her alone. Alone all this time. I had no idea what to say to that. Mion was clearly now talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who. All I could do was listen to her in a daze. You never came back after that. She's talking about Satoshi. And now you called me again to push her on to me. You're so unfair. Hey, you're Satoshi-kun, aren't you? Called it. Mion, what are you talking about? When I said her name, whatever spell was on Mion was released. I'm sorry. It's nothing. It's just that I got a phone call a lot like the one you're making now a long time ago. Was it from Satoshi? Mion didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver. Sorry. I think I'm still a little tipsy. I got all weirdly emotional. Sorry, I probably scared you. I had no idea how it happened, but I was pretty sure that last year, on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion. Satoshi was the one who killed the ant, wasn't he? And told her to bring Satoko to the festival. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, you are crunching.
I'm sorry about that shuffling. I needed to move immediately. My legs were dying.
Doing that shuffle. When she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way I just did. Satoshi didn't go to the festival, did he? Yeah. He said he had something to do and couldn't make it. And he told me...
Yeah, I'm fine. I just had to shuffle. I just had to move.
And he told me to take Satoko there in his place. At the time, Satoshi said it too, didn't he? That he'd leave Satoko to you? Yeah, he did. Just for tomorrow night. The way you said it was just like how he did. I just got a little upset, caught up in a memory and all. I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. After that, Mion had said more. That he was lying. That he told her it would only be for the night of the festival. I get it. A few days later, Satoshi, he disappeared. Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. So this is the second time she's had someone murdered on her behalf? No, not on her, but... Not... Well, Satoko? If you mean Satoko? people keep killing people. Yeah, no, that's a common theme in this game. Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning Satoko. Yes, he didn't transfer or run away from home. He disappeared. And then an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Satoshi made exactly the same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? 'Cause he killed the ant! If, in the truest sense, he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where their aunt was beaten to death, that's... Could it... You're putting the pieces together, my boy! Was Satoshi... Huh? What was that? Last year, Satoko had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt, too. Her aunt abused her the most. And on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about that, everything made perfect sense, didn't it? Last year, Satoko's aunt was beaten to death, wasn't she? Would it be impossible for Satoshi to have... No, but that would mean... But then Satoshi... He was a coward who abandoned Satoko and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Satoko? It was unthinkable. I actually considered that as well. Though it'd be mean to Satoshi. A few days later, he disappeared. On Satoko's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely. Satoshi had probably been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister be abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. And that was why the corpse of their aunt beaten to death was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in his anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. He'd permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi, he wished for a return to peaceful days with Satoko, and though he achieved it for a time, he had been steadily driven into a corner. And then he wanted to at least hold out until Satoko's birthday, but finally, they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he'd amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He would buy the stuffed animal as her gift and then get caught. Or he could use the money and disappear. That was the choice he had been forced to make. And he decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. If that was the case, then it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved wanting to see Satoko happy, he had to use it to make her sad. And he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo, if the rumors were true. Was that how Satoshi disappeared? I don't know. That Oishi guy seems to think that way, though. Oishi. Had he been slowly driven into a corner by that repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit? What a cool, pig-headed pursuit. That's so fun to say. The circumstantial evidence is all there, but I think your deduction is wrong. They caught some lowlife somewhere in the prefecture, and he apparently turned himself in for the crime. I was right. The deviant had confessed, and the incident was solved. They said he really was just a crazy person, and that he had no ties to Hinamizawa, and no relationship with Satoshi, of course. I mean, I have a pretty hard time believing the guy would lie in Satoshi's place. You couldn't just arbitrarily decide like that. You never know where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it was really a perfect crime, there would have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish. Plus, I don't think Satoshi had the kind of money to run away. That day, he withdrew all his savings. No matter who I tell this to, nobody believes me, but that stuffed animal he said he was buying for Satoko, it was gone from the display. Sold. It must have been Satoshi. Wait a minute. If he didn't use the money to flee and bought the stuffed animal instead, he would have gone back to Satoko, wouldn't he? It seems unbelievable he'd buy it and then disappear without having given it to her. Yeah, so now I don't know what happened. It would be one thing if he had the money, but if he used all his savings on it, he'd be totally broke. You can't live a life on the run without money in this world. I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I couldn't remember how we even got on this topic. Maybe it escaped. Correct. Sorry. I think we got off topic. Satoko, right? Don't worry. I actually already invited her. Huh? You serious? When everyone went to the shrine to prepare for the festival, we started talking about getting Satoko to the festival itself. So then I used the phone at the assembly hall to invite her. Her uncle was acting distant and didn't seem to care at all, but in any case, we got the okay from him. We decided to all meet up and go together tomorrow. You okay with that? Satoshi? Satoshi! Sorry, that was a stupid voice. Stupid. I'm not Satoshi. I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Satoko had already been invited to the festival, and not in a way that smelled of blood, a way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. The real killer. The big old teddy bear. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same, but I was happy for that slight difference. Sorry. I guess I didn't need to call then. First yesterday, now today. Sorry for saying such weird things. Just forget about it. No, I'm the one who should apologize. Losing it like that isn't like me. I'm really sorry. We apologized to each other for a little bit. All right, I'll be going now. Good night. What did you have to do? As if interrupting our parting words, Mion struck straight where it hurt. Or is it like with Satoshi, where you can't say? Stupid. I keep telling you I'm not Satoshi. Yeah, I know that. I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that. All right, this time for real. Good night. I don't know why you're giving me the same phone call as Satoshi-kun did, but... yeah, never mind. I'm sorry. Good night. I'm hanging up. Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorned you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I didn't know what to think. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, their aunt's death, and Satoshi's disappearance. And now, me, trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi the day before the curse. Now that wasn't all. If we start back from Satoko being abused, then I'd been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. Then as Satoshi had accomplished, I would succeed in the murder. But that was the extent to which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi and more calculating. I could actually grow calmer the more enthusiastic I became. And that's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him cleanly out of the world and then get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi has been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No, maybe even longer than that. When I decided to be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been residing within me then too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini even now? The kind worthy of Satoko's love. I'm built different, yeah. I never met him, never spoken to him, didn't even know his face, and yet I felt so connected to him. I'd never felt that way before.
Kinda gay.
What'd you say?
Kinda gay.
Kinda gay? I thought you said hell yeah, and I was like, okay.
I mean, that too. If you recall back to chapter 1, this isn't the first time that Keiichi has been accused of mimicking Satoshi's actions.
Yep. Possessed!
Made your choice without looking back.
That was the achievement.
Time to look at some tips, and I'm gonna narrate it because I've had nothing to do for an hour.
I'm so sorry.
It's not your fault. It's just kind of the way these things fall.
Yeah. Alright, here you go. Here's some reading for you.
July unknown, 1982. Okinomiya Police Station, 1st Investigative Division. Chief Takasugi, even. Unknown Prefecture Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime. Shishabone Branch Head, unknown. Regarding incident unknown, designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found that is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question, Okinomiya Police Station X, Kinamizawa Village housewife slaughter incident. During investigation of suspect redacted, who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was testimony alluding to the crime in question, and it became clear it contained information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we are prepared to share this record of testimony with you, duplicate attached. If this testimonial is to be believed, then there is an extremely high chance that suspect redacted was the perpetrator in the incident in question. In addition, on receiving this testimony, the head investigator on the case inquired as to the incident with the Okinomiya Police Station. But the responsible party at Okinomiya Police Station misunderstood, and in compliance with the designation as an undercover investigation by executive order from Prefectural Police Headquarters on July 1st, 1982, General Administration B1-12, they did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question, and as a result was negligent when combing the scene. We apologize for having effectively ignored it until now. In addition, there is a postscript stating that suspect redacted died while in confinement yesterday on redacted. God, there are points in that sting just runs through you like a shiver.
Satoshi?
That was about the drug guy who was arrested. So, presumably not Satoshi. But I guess we don't know that for sure.
Fucked up. I'm gonna save, and then I'm gonna take a break, because I need to pee.
I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna go get candy.
Yeah. And also on the break, since nobody's had the chance to redeem any fun redeems this whole stream because it's all been super serious and about murder, I think I'm gonna turn them on temporarily. So go nuts as I take a break. Moonpie will still
Where's
not be
everyone
on.
going?
There you go.
Bingo?
Have fun with that. Have fun with that, everybody.
We'll be back.
Right. We'll be back. Do you hear the music now? Outside?
Yeah. Oh. No.
Oh, okay, cool. I had the crisp is working. The crisping.
Hope this is not Chris's blood.
All right, get all those redeems out of your system, everybody, as per usual. I'm gonna close my window again then because I don't want people hearing me talk about planning to murder somebody. Anybody like walking by, like hearing me talking about, all right, where am I gonna hide the body? 1 second. I'm sorry, Cal, you probably heard me bump into the mic.
No.
Where's everyone going?
I'm like,
Bingo?
sometimes I hear you bump the mic, but it's never like loud. It's not a big
Okay.
deal.
Boop. All right, everybody, get everything out. Get all the redeems out. Get them all out. Get it out of your system. Go. Get all your greetings.
This
Get all.
town is full of
Yep.
monsters. How can you sit there and
That
eat
was
pizza?
too close. You were almost a jibble sandwich.
Mita.
Hang on. What other ones do I have in here?
Leprechaun.
There we go. There we go. There's that one.
That was too close. You were almost a jibble sandwich.
I love how they overlap. It's so good. Yeah, get it all out. Get it all out.
I have this.
Excellent.
Leprechaun.
Excellent. It's continuing. It's continuing. I'm leaving this in the VOD because it's funny. We need to have our small little break of all the funny redeems before we get back into the story about abuse. This is how we cope. It's how we cope. All right. All right. As long as it's not happening while I'm reading about it, that's all. It's all good. I've been drinking water.
I have this.
Leprechaun.
People love the leprechaun one. I love this music. Okay, let me actually switch over here. Let me see if I can actually... I kind of want to bring Moon Pie back, but I want to see if...
Please let animation finish first, and slash or close the menu, God!
No. Why are you white? I know why you're white. There we go. Why are you white? Why are you white? Okay, Moon Pie's back. She just can't talk.
It's so scary.
You can pet her. So that's the point. Ow. I also wanted to be back, so for anybody who wanted to, you know, do any of the throw stuff at me if you want. No, see, she can't talk at all because I don't even have the software open that makes her talk. So I just closed it entirely. Ah! Thank you, Jordan.
Why are we screaming?
Because Jordan threw a bunch of shit at me. That's something only the mods can do. So... Ah, no!
Spare you.
It's fine, everybody's getting it out of their system. It's all good.
How's everyone doing?
How's everybody doing?
I know this is like heavy.
Yeah. This past chapter wasn't too bad. I mean, it is Keiji talking about planning a murder. But it's still quite a bit. Coping? Alright, cool. I'm stretching. Everybody stretch. Everybody stretch. I'm glad we're all doing okay despite this being a heavy fucking episode of Higurashi. This game really draws out scenes from the anime. This is the original. This is the source material that the anime is based off of. So
the anime shortens scenes from this.
Yep. Yeah.
A lot of the time to its detriment. And like, I understand that they only had so much time and so much budget.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's clear what the director wanted wasn't like an actual murder mystery story about like the bonds that people have. And they just kind of wanted a funny yandere girl do a knife attack.
Oh, that's disappointing. Because that's not what I like about Higurashi so far. What I like is the slow burn murder mystery with which has to have some supernatural interference. We just don't know how or why or what. One of the most common things that people say in my chat and in my comments for these videos is, I can't believe they made a game based off of that show. And it's like, no, the game came first, you dummies. Why would they make a visual novel based on an anime? That's stupid. That's like, that's, I mean, I guess they do make manga based off anime. That has happened before, but I don't know. Making a visual novel based off of a show just seems very goofy to me. Never seen it played till now. Yeah, me neither. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. When I was younger, I really liked the show Elfen Lied, even though I shouldn't have been watching it at the age that I watched it. I want to say 14. And if you don't know what Elfen Lied or Elfen Lied, whatever you want to call it, is, it's, there's a lot of shit in it. A lot of shit that stuck with me too. A lot of murder, a lot of telekinetic murder, a lot of other stuff that is very mature, a lot of boobies, there's a lot of shit. I really liked it. This was also around the same time I had watched Akira, which I probably also shouldn't have watched, but I was fine. I also watched Ghost in the Shell, the movie, the original movie. And I was just really into all this shit. And somebody was like, if you like Elfen Lied, you should watch Higurashi. And I was like, okay. And I tried to watch Higurashi. It opens with, murder. And I was like, oh, awesome. And then it cuts to, happy fun time with anime kids. And I was like, this is boring. And I don't think I ever finished the first episode even.
Oh my god, I have a comic shout out?
Yeah.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah. No, every time it does the timer message, it I asked you a while ago, is there anything you want to plug? So I could just...
I thought that was for the Twitter post or something.
No.
I'm so honored.
Guys, go check that out. It's cool as hell.
Twirls my hair, you think so?
Hee ha. Don't forget... Oh yeah, Elfen Lied does have an incest subplot.
We can all be mature about that, right? Now.
Yeah, no, it sucked. It's gross and weird.
No, it's not like an incest subplot, as in, it's part of the plot, and that's, scary and bad about how that's a terrible thing to have happened to someone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of just like a fetish thing. It
was two cousins. I think it was unrequited. The girl cousin had a crush on the boy cousin, and he was just kind of like, whatever, that's weird. That was all it really was.
I see, so it serves no purpose to the plot. Great.
It kind of did. Did. I don't know. It wasn't the worst I've seen it handled. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's continue this fucking adventure. Continue. Maybe this time Cal will get to read. Hopefully. Sunday. Sorry. The fire.
Hedges, and seeking.
Seeking.
Everyone go watch Hank of the Hill.
That's my favorite.
Not now, but
right
in
now.
general.
Seeking. That's my favorite YouTube poop ever.
You're a loser.
Salad. Dallas. Salad. Okay, all right. I needed it out of my system. The fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. Stop! The chat is incomprehensible now. There's been 2 messages, but it's making my brain go boggle. And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. The television.
It wasn't cloudy in other Watanagashi.
The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight. But as long as it wasn't raining at the moment, the festival would go on. The festival had to open, or it wouldn't begin. The rain is probably gonna put a damper, quite literally, into Keiichi's plan to murder. The Furude Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that only happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up all in the auspicious colors of red and white, the sound of electric motors at the stalls, the voices of kids running around, their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering just for a few moments while smiling that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. No shit, dude. It would be a day I would remember vividly for as long as I lived. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounged about during the early afternoon. Oh boy, the shit with the police. This episode is gonna be fucking great. We may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spent my time. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement, I almost went crazy. And when I was planning out the act of a murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me thus far, I was in such a state of calm I almost thought I had lost my emotions. And then, yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made exactly the same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. And now, entering today. Right now, I lacked all the emotions I'd possessed until now. I just had a thought. So we read that tip about the alleged, druggie, I guess, who attacked and killed Satoko's aunt. And, he apparently died in jail. What if he was injected with the drug that makes you claw your throat out? That's my thought right now.
We don't know how he died.
We don't know how he died yet. I'm throwing that out there, though. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything very clearly. I had no anger towards the man for the violence he'd committed against Satoko, nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends who had just waited and watched, never reaching out to her with any help, and no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes, right now, you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. When it came down to it, I would probably need to let my violent emotions take control. Oh, my window is slightly cracked open, that's fine. People can hear me talk about murder. But right up until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective, and then when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. Oh, I forgot to do this. Okay. There was no emotion in that. Thank you, everybody, for being respectful and kind. Just the creeping mindset insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle, like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way, thinking like an insect. Tug. I tightened my laces one more time and walked out the door. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I would need it to dig the man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one made for camping. If I twisted it like so and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self, deep within me, was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take to becoming a murderer. The last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. That was the best anime noise I'd ever done in my life.
It was pretty good.
The area around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity. But even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. With how long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly and as expected. I took another look around. Not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I took the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then I stuck the tip of the shovel into a soft-looking patch of ground and pushed on it with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into that foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. I was just digging a hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi Maibata. Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2... I couldn't do it on the countdown, despite it just being sticking the shovel into the ground, and I had to count down 5 or 6 times. Damn it, I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant, and split came the sharp noise. It was only soft at the beginning. Roots and stones quickly got in my way, informing me just how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it would be enough to cover him up with some dirt. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down on it with my teeth and dug even harder. I've dug enough now. I could hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go down into the hole, grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell to the ground. My back was in even worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin, and it felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot. It was disgusting. I was sticky. I was itchy. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves. Damn it all. So what? Are you telling me to pack up and go home? Is that it? I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself, me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way and digging a hole all the way out here? What benefit would digging this hole give me? The thing I couldn't stand the most was the Higurashi when they cry. What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school, or even before that, my whole life had only been me doing what other people told me to do. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained, living a life just based on the commands of others, and I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average. It wasn't like the captains of the dodgeball teams would have a passionate rock, paper, scissors contest to see which would get me. I was always picked last.
Me too.
Solidarity. We're shaking hands right now. During those kindergarten... what were we going to say?
It just always pissed me off so bad because, like, I had proven athletic ability.
Yeah,
I've always
same.
been a very athletic person. I've always been quite good at sport. The reason they didn't pick me is because I'm fat.
The only, like, the thing was, it was just a popularity contest. People, like, weren't friends with me.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
they would always pick me last, and I kind of just accepted that. It didn't make me upset. It was just like, nobody knows who the fuck I am. I was so unpopular because I was always, switching schools, so nobody knew who I was. And on top, like, this is really funny. So I don't know if you guys do this in the UK for, like, different, like, language classes. But in our language classes, it's very common to pick, like, your Spanish name, quote unquote, or your French name. So you just pick a name that is, like, common in France or in Spain.
No, we don't do that. That's fucking stupid.
It was a cute little thing we did. So, for Spanish class, they were like, all right, pick your Spanish name. And I was like, I want to be Luna, because I like that name.
I mean, that's cute.
And yeah,
But, like-
so people didn't know my actual name. They just called me Luna. That's how unpopular I was. People were like, oh yeah. And then I was like, that's not my real name. That's my fucking Spanish name. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah. I thought it was really funny. Anyway.
I had the opposite problem.
Everyone
knew who I was. Everyone knew who I was.
That sucks.
Every single person in the school, from probably my first day in high school, knew who I was. Because on the first day of high school, I fell down the stairs on the bus. The driver clearly didn't give a shit about the kids on the bus, and he jolted the bus as I was trying to climb up. It knocked me off my feet, and I fell all the way down. Really hurt myself. And everyone laughed.
And so, like, that's so... Kids are the worst. Kids are the worst. They're the worst. I don't miss being a kid at all.
No.
I like being an adult. When people are like, man, I miss being a kid, I was like, well, that's probably because being a kid was awesome for you. You were probably a bully. Anyway, small tangent, but during those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. Yeah. You're here, brother. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother. Oh, here you go.
Keiichi, would you like to go to a cram school? You'll better grasp what you're learning in school and it will be more fun.
The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test with the same exact problem dozens of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that come with manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to the cram school again with with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said, but I clearly remember one point. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something.
By 61, do you mean his average score was 61 points? No.
Yeah.
Not at all, Mrs. Mayabara. The deviation from the mean of all our cram schools across the country is 61. He's showing extraordinary numbers, even on a simple intelligence test. First, I would like to say that Keiichi Mayabara-kun is extremely bright. Keiichi? But he doesn't have very good grades at school. He has average marks on his report cards, B's, C, D's. Is there some kind of mistake? We cross-checked with several tests as well, and we learned some very interesting things as a result. Mayabara-kun is extremely weak when faced with questions that don't have any meaning. He just has no interest in simple, dull questions that don't have to do with everyday life. So, even if he doesn't know what 2 plus 3 is, if you told him he had 2 apples then got 3 more, he would understand that sort of question? That's right. For example, instead of telling him to draw a flattened, foldable cube, what if we asked him what a die would look like when cut open? If we did that, he can answer beautifully.
Now, the person from the cram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they?
In this question, it asks to draw an unfolded, regular icosahedron, a shape with 20 faces. When we rephrased it and asked him how he would cut out a piece of cardboard to create a 20-sided die, Keiichi-kun drew the answer as though it were easy. This is not something an average child can do. Keiichi, have you ever made a die with 20 sides from a magazine extra or anything?
Dice only went from 1 to 6. I've never even considered before this test that there were dice with more than 6 sides, so it was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I could win at Snakes and Ladders against anyone, so I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower classes. And when I remembered how much better they had done at things like dodgeball and the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't as good as them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. The teachers at school suddenly started pampering me, and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too, and I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. That did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in self-deprecation. Because, well, my studious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got along less with my friends. My classes were behind what I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And well, I was a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew, and the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in that state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told, then I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate it was. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And then my father, he had a place that he liked and that he'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. He started saying that he wanted to bring his atelier there. Mm-hmm. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. And after that, I met them, didn't I? My friends. The first day after transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot into the room. The thrilling, powerful way I opened that door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. And then, within seconds, that determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there was a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Oh, come on. Satoko was already beating me right from the first day I transferred? That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised that the students in the class were all in different grades and were different genders. It was because, like, was the cram school we went to just boys? Anyway.
Very likely.
Probably.
A lot of high-level schooling is gender segregated.
Interesting. It's because the room felt completely different from the schools I knew. And as I spend more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. This fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I've never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. We played Old Maid with cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all our passions go wild during our games. I need to adjust. We went.
While you're adjusting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I've been looking for a moment to talk for a while now.
No, it's all good.
I really like this emphasis on Keiichi's neurodivergence.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something that a kid in Japan likely would have had at this time frame a word for.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the teachers did in some way, but it's unlikely that it would have made its way back to Keiichi.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that it's really sweet.
Yeah.
That the teachers were, at least at first, accommodating towards him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he really, like I've said this from the very beginning, because I was trying to foreshadow this, he really is a smart kid.
Yeah.
He's just...
Things will sometimes just go over his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he doesn't understand things from certain perspectives, and you can make arguments for like autism, for ADHD, for both. It's not ever elaborated on what exactly his neurodivergence takes the shape of. But I just think it's a really nice quirk of his character.
Yeah, no, it's definitely some sort of like learning disability. Could be ADHD.
Yeah.
But no, that's definitely some sort of like learning disability. When like the way it was described was like perfect. Like,
Yes.
I honestly like kind of relate to that. I did better in school, but I feel like it's because I hacked the system. Honestly, whenever there was any like project like assigned to like us, I would go, I don't want to fucking do that, and I just would take the 0. I would just not do it. And like just make sure I did everything else better, so I still had a passing grade. Because I was like, that's boring. I don't want to do that. I hate projects. I hated projects so much. I never did them.
I never did homework. I couldn't ever bring myself to do it.
I always did homework like the class before it was due.
I couldn't ever bring myself to do it. Like, I'd sit down with the intent to do it every single night, and just staring at the page made me cry because it was so mind-numbingly boring. And
yeah, no, I didn't.
Probably a lot of people here know how it is. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're fine.
A lot of people here probably know what it's like to have autism and ADHD, and how boredom for people with our kinds of neuroses is a lot different than the boredom that neurotypical people feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
For us, it's like a physical malady. It hurts. It's agonizing. And it's just not something you can combat.
No, I would try to be like proactive and like just be like, I'm gonna do my homework when I get home. But when you're in school all day and like already my attention span was like non-existent. Whenever I was in class, depending on how the teacher taught, I was not paying attention, and I would answer test questions based on like, it was usually multiple choice, so I would use process of elimination, and that's how I got by. Because I'm smart. Not to brag, I'm smart. And I would just figure it out on my own. Like, I wasn't listening ever in school. Never. I would just figure that shit out on my own. I would read the books on my own, and then figure it out the way I could figure it out. When it came to the teacher, like, talking in front of class, I would not listen, ever. I could not retain information that way. And like, gosh, this is going more on the tangent, but I have this vivid memory because, like I said, I would always do homework in class. Sometimes, as soon as it was assigned, I would start doing it in the middle of class. So I would get it done ahead of time. So my math teacher, when I was in high school, one of my math teachers assigned the homework. And while she was teaching, I was doing that homework that she had just assigned for that night. And she saw me do that, and she grabbed my paper and she crumbled it up and threw it in the trash and said, "Homework is for the home." And I started crying.
That's so unnecessarily cruel.
It's so unnecessary. It's like, that's how I learned, dude. That's how I learned. You tell me to do my homework, I'm gonna do it right away because I'm gonna multitask because that's how I learn, you fucking asshole. Otherwise, this is gonna sound weird, that was like the meanest I'd ever seen her. She had otherwise she was a wonderful teacher, but that was fucked up. And I don't think I ever fully forgave her for that. But good lord, I hated school. Anyway, I'm glad we went on this tangent. Oh shit, hang on. Okay, that's the one I missed. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town and many, many more things. Recently, during those times, there was the bento competition. It was then. That's when I saw an unexpected side to Satoko. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. It was such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warms my heart remembering it even now. I wish we could go back to those times. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. And I vowed to become her Nini. Satoko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that so many times, but I did anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path? To take back that life? Hello, Proxy. It sure is Higu's time! Yippee! Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself. And you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, not like the road parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that disheartening path would keep on going forever. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I could travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from the brightly lit, paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. I wonder how many people plan out a murder like this. Like, how many people are like, I'm just gonna get rid of this person, and then I'm gonna go back to my happy life. I'm sure it's...
I imagine it's probably easier in these days, you know, before the surveillance state.
Yeah, for sure. When I next realized it, the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all this myself? I think digging this much is enough, right? I put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. You'd leave a trail of blood, you dumbass. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening, and I hadn't realized it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a lot of time. I took a seat on a slanted rock nearby and wiped the sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bat I hid in the schoolyard. Then I'd make the call to lure him out. And then, I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. Hello, Gazoot. Now I know when we are. I didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt that. A contradiction. Okay, very quick aside. I just wanted to thank the chat, like, during Higurashi, and also thank the comments on YouTube. This has been, like, this fandom has been the most respectful as far as, like, spoilers go. Like, holy shit. Like, most other games I play that other people have, like already know what's gonna happen, people are, it's just so obnoxious and are like, oh boy, I can't wait for this part, and that, I don't think that's ever happened. Like, I feel like maybe once or twice somebody was like, oh, I know where we are, and, or, like not, and that doesn't reveal anything. That's not bracing me for impact for anything. It's just like, oh, I know I know this scene. And it's like, it's not like, oh boy, I can't wait for this next part. Yippee! You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I just can't wait until they cry. Do you not hear them?
They're crying
Let's
right
take
now.
A moment.
Let's take a moment. Ponder the Higurashi.
You hear that?
You hear that?
That's the fucking cicadas.
Those are the fucking bugs. But yeah, no, I just wanted, like, I saw Gazoot in chat and I was like, I needed to take a moment to thank the Higurashi, the folks, because
Thank the Higurashi, the bugs.
to thank the bugs. Higurashi Umineko communities are honestly great in that regard, since they wait until you know what something is before they deep dive into it with you. Yeah, no, I've super appreciated, because this is something I definitely don't want to get spoiled for me. So
Can you believe that Umineko's better than this?
yes, as much as I like Higurashi so far. Anyway, small aside. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, to turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time was right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed at hesitating to kill, because I was human. It was so funny to me that I'd be the bearer of Oyashiro-sama's curse. At the same time, I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around but me. Okay, let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one had forced me to walk. Let's do this. Keiichi Maibara. The cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot, and their chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I would be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. The sky was far above. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. Again, I must note, Higurashi does not specifically just mean cicada. It means a specific kind of cicada that comes out at night. Anyway, I got confused by that earlier on. Anyway, when that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I left Satoko's fate up to a public agency, but this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. That was cool as fuck. Yes, when the Higurashi cried. He said it! He said it!
Look at that fade in. Ooh,
I skipped it on accident, but
it's okay.
he said it! Whoa!
Look at those dark shadows.
Whoa! Guys, when they cry! Whoa! There is nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. This was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human presence. Yeah, the point!
Exactly. You get it.
Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition, that someone had found the bat and hidden it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then the sensation of chilled metal. It was still here where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited here patiently, for me. Sorry for the wait, Satoshi. It's been a long time coming. You prepared for this? Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know. I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself. Right on, Satoshi. Let's show him a bad time. Do it. Wait, no, never mind.
We can't.
You can't.
So I'm just gonna do it with my mouth.
Satoshi's bat got lighter and lighter and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally, it was like an extension of my own right arm. I feel like he might have said that in chapter 1. Of course.
Also, I have a request.
Yeah.
If there are any more quote-unquote Satoshi lines, can I take them?
Yeah, I was about to say if there, like, I don't know if there are, so.
I don't remember.
Okay, of course it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from, dumbass. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it, and they'd also be able... Wouldn't they be able to track where the call came from? Hello?
I don't know if they had that technology back then.
They might have. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know enough about tech.
Couldn't I use the school phone? But as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. You should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivety, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man, the one from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pocket, then unlocked the door and entered. The best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sections for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office's storehouse, which is so far in the back students weren't allowed into it. Oh wow, I fucked that up. Heretic Soul, thank you. 23 months. I appreciate that. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along, silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with the phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the forest service officer walking back over, then the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened and rode out the school gate. What was he there for? The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house phone number out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house now, where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers, and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Despite how many times I'd gone over it in my head last night, now that I had my finger on the dial like this, it started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. The call sound. Would Satoko's uncle pick up? Now, of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up and the feeling of doom and the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't whirled around in a vortex. Oh,
I guess I'll take Tepe.
Yeah, take Tepe for now.
Hello?
It was the voice of a grumpy man like he had just woken up. He picked up.
Hello?
Say your name so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. I made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go. This is the Shishibone Okinomiya police station. Am I speaking to the Hojo residents? I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police?
Oh, yes. This is Hojo.
We currently have your daughter, Satoko Hojo, here with us.
What? Satoko? Oh, what did that brat do?
He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my words. I can explain the particulars once you have arrived here. Would you mind coming to the station right away?
Right now? I already took a bath myself, so I don't really want to go out like this, though.
What? You don't want to come because you already took a bath? Yes, right away.
Right away? Jeez, man. What the heck did Satoko do?
I'll explain once you're here. I will be waiting. Thank you for your assistance.
1 second. I don't know where the police station is. Where am I going?
You moron, what the hell? The Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
Oh, next to the fire station, right? That's pretty far.
Thank goodness. He remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was. Why are you guys ooging and ahhing? It's probably just the story. So long as he left his house to get there, then we will be waiting here.
Oh, wait. Who am I asking for once I get there?
Say Oishi.
What's your name?
On top of that, he wanted to know my name? Just leave your goddamn house already. Keiichi! My bashi. Excuse me. That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllable of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. Oh, shit. My fingers were trembling, and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. If Satoko's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He'd learn there was no one at the station named Maebashi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed a family wearing yukatas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hinamizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy, but I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. This guy would have fallen for the car's extended warranty. Oh, absolutely. I needed to get back as fast as possible, to control my breathing, and to ambush the man. I hid my bike in a thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I'd just left hidden in the shade, and then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here, or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already. I couldn't figure out which it was and was set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maibata. Even if he came here already, he'd pass by here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. He'd probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it would be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed or beat him out of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him as hard as I could and made him lose his balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from its sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little farther, he'd cross into that thicket and appear in front of me. I'd take a moment to make sure it was him. Then when I had, I put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at its characteristics again. Its color, shape, and most of all, the man's clothes and face. Those last feelings of hesitations, I did away with them. Satoko, now your Nini will end it, okay? Closer, closer. The bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi. There you go.
Yeah.
Whoosh. I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all of my might. He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally, it fell, the bike scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning, it stopped. Her uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened and groaned for a few moments, crouched on the ground. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a moment ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away, like the strings they'd been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Keiichi Maibara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape. Scrape. I stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, then another towards Satoko's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes, at this moment, this guy had lost permission to live. I had just rescinded it. I think that's how you say that. So he mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Satoko's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. I could feel the cooling substance going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked.
Oh, that hurt.
That's all it took. For it to hurt. Satoko's heart hurt much more, and now you're gonna feel that. And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute. Love that Pokemon. Wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get at the most effective spot, at least during that first moment. I'd have to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. And if he was hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head, so he couldn't pick himself up off the heap he was in on the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him in the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. By just delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself up off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he'd made after seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I was most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky, and the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards people, but off the path and into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into strange geography like a rat that instinctively runs into tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my legs expanded and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became a wind-like shadow and dashed. I'm just imagining him Naruto running through the woods. I'm sorry. I crossed...
That's not how the anime does it, at the very least.
Okay, cool. I crossed thickets, crushed dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need so much as a blink of an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, and body were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt like this. Well, this is the first experience I'd ever had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time, and that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulder, his head, even from this unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and begged pitifully for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. I felt sharp. I felt like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten like an herbivore, running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept on fleeing without even staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. But there was no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. Just like Beastars.
I was also thinking that, but I didn't want to interrupt.
I had the same fucking thought. I feel like a carnivore. He was lowly, vulgar, a diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Satoko. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived. Oh, whoa! I don't know why I delivered that way. My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran! I'm impressed by how much you can run. The killer! Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. I am so glad I'm seeing that emote in chat right now. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, then by all means, stop anytime. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror of the approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but was chased, his head bashed with the metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came the sounds of coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying, and pleas for forgiveness to someone. I didn't know who. There's that pleas for forgiveness again. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now run! Now run! Then fall and moan and die! Where did you even crawl out of anyway? You were never here before. If you were never here, you never should have showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine, laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Mion would surely make it into a competition, and we, as a club, would have a grand time, and everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance, and everyone would say how fun it was, and it would give us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny, warm times spent with friends. And that would have happened, but it didn't, and now it was all smashed to pieces. There was no doubt that would be what the world was like if you never showed up. He's right. That's what chapter 1 and 2 were like. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the hearsay in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so that this last week never happened. Tonight was the Watanagashi Festival, the holy night where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. It looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cried, he said it again. Everything would end.
Pointing.
And the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one, the hour of atonement is at an end. The Higurashi have stopped their crying, thus it is the end. The end. The end. The end. End. You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the other one, before. The metal bat crunched into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head had caved in. The bat felt like it was biting him. It had been the final killing attack that visited him. When I didn't overlook the opening he left as his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a few moments, then thud, thud, he planted both knees in the ground and then fell forwards, burying his head in the ground. I'd been holding back my ragged breathing, but now it all came out of me like a dam bursting. Topical. My head was dizzy and light and unable to maintain my balance. I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try and guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him? For sure? I fought back my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood and drew towards him carefully, bat still at the ready. It was possible he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. If I thought he might be faking it, then I would just have to keep pummeling him until I was satisfied. Fought back my ragged breathing again, and then I swung my bat far above and brought it down. Clunk. His body leapt like a bow, but he didn't try and cover his head. Like a bow or bow? No. Then once again, I aimed for his head and swung.
Bow, I think, because
like he's bowing.
The leaping of a bow. No, like the leaping of a bow from a ship.
Oh, got it. Oh.
So like he angled upwards in a twitch.
Gotcha. That makes more sense. His reaction was the same this time. After spending a few moments making his head into mochi, very good imagery there, the hits gradually started to feel different, and it started to spray a filthy, dark red liquid everywhere. I want mochi now. That was enough.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry. It was definite now. I'm like, guys, we gotta be serious. I'm gonna turn all the redeems off, and then I'm out here like, mochi. It's definite
man
now.
brain.
I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Satoko's uncle, nor pity towards Satoko herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point, and how comfortable it felt. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. In exchange, my shoes were so wet they made splashing sounds. Maybe the rain was a good thing, it's washing all the blood off of them. Maybe. Despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different than before. Instead, it had been stained with black, with red, with mud and blood. But that itself would be evidence. The one piece of evidence needed to prove that my delusions hadn't just been daydreams, and that I'd ended Satoko's uncle for all eternity. All right, Keiichi, calm your mind. The time for passion is over. Now is the time to be cold as ice. I needed to bury the body, but where was I? I'd simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. I couldn't take a guess as to how far we'd run. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had to go on was the very faint lights on the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good, I could see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores on his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I had mustered at that moment. I went over to the streetlight. I looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. Oh no. This was the one road connecting Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far away from Satoko's house. Had the two of us really run so far a distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location where I dug the hole. There was no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike the man took here was still lying in the middle of that path. That would be an issue. The police could tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at its license plate, and they wouldn't just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in a dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first, and I wanted to get the shovel back from where I'd left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body there. I would have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour and was more sludgy here than where I was before. I might be able to dig a grave quickly here. Of course, my bicycle was still over where I'd left it too. It still wasn't over. Homicide had only been half of my goal. The other half would be just as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing a beginning to happen. I would erase the man like he'd never existed and regain the peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable. For a while, I let my desire have its way. After confirming that I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass at the roadside. Considering how it looked, pelted with rain and covered in mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a very long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle into the swamp. The swamp was a bit of a walk from here. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it would be so heavy. It's a fucking motorcycle, dude! I was a little surprised, but once I had it upright, it was fairly easy to roll along. Still, pushing the thing all the way to the swamp was really not something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me numerous times of how far away the swamp was. This motorcycle, I wonder if I could ride it well enough. Once I got it going, it would be basically the same as a bicycle. No!
No.
No! Yeah, it's usually the getting away with it that's the hard part of murders, Keiichi, not the killing. Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't it get me to the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion, the anxiety at getting on a motorcycle for the first time withdrew. I turned the key, and then you just kick this pedal, right? Yeah! Yeah! Vroom, it's on! And then I gripped the handlebars. First the right, then the left. Ooh, ah! Maybe I twisted them too much. The bike lurched and did a wheelie like an angry horse. Oh, damn, that's impressive. I lost it for a second, but it was just a problem of how much torque to apply. Let's try that again. This time slowly, gently. That time it went well. It was strange to be on a two-wheeled vehicle that would go even if I didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Yeah, this is the most unbelievable part of Higurashi. Mion once told me you could get a scooter license within a day. She was clearly right.
I will say that, like, his motorbike isn't meant to be like the modern motorcycles that we see now. It's like a moped.
Okay, that's more
so it's
believable.
significantly easier to handle.
Yeah. Moped. Yeah, Zook got it. Good weather for riding a moped. I needed to throw the metal bat into the swamp too, but I didn't know how I would pack the bat onto the motorcycle. Without much other choice, I stuffed it into the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. If I put the tip down the seat of my pants and hunched it over, it wouldn't fall out. I got back on the bike, and this time, got going without any difficulty. Carefully pressed the button labeled light, and a rather strong light came on and illuminating the way forward. Probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing at this point and had zero confidence I could ride through this darkness. As the rain came down on me, I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me. They were either all soaked through with the rain and hurrying on their ways home or had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday, I might have been wary of even those these passersby, but right now it didn't seem to be much cause for concern. In fact, it would probably be less suspicious to be riding out in the open like this instead of sneaking around. More and more, though, I started to think of that idea as naive, brought on by my exhausted state. I climbed a steep hill. On a bike, the hill would have put me out of breath, but I just had to accelerate a little bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. I just want to apologize, Cal, that you have had, like, only a few lines straight.
It's okay. I was considering, like, if I should maybe take over for narration for a little bit, just to give your voice a break. And, like, obviously you can still have Keiichi's lines, but it's up to you.
We could do that if you want to take the narration.
I'm happy to, but, like, I don't want to, like, take away from you.
No, you can go for it. I had my murder arc. It's okay.
I can have the, trying to hide it arc.
Yeah.
For a moment, its lights illuminated a sign before I passed by it. Onikafuchi Swamp / Good Children Do Not Play Around Here. Still, it wasn't like the way the swamp was cordoned off by a metal fence or anything. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp, but some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see a giant crayfish in the place. They'd talked before about how they'd go to the candy shop and buy some pickled squid, then just tie it to a fishing line and throw it, and all the crayfish would come running. Once I got up to the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes on one of the trees. And as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp wood waited for me. If I slammed on the accelerator from the cliff-like stop I was on now, the thing would fly straight into the middle of the swamp. I had to be careful not to fall in with it. If I drowned and disappeared, man, what a stupid ghost story that'd be. On the night of Watanagashi, Satoko's uncle's corpse was found in a thicket by the road leading to town, and Keiichi Mayabata went missing. People would whisper that it had been demoned away. The 5th year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let go just when it seemed like it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and was swallowed down into the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I'd imagined. Its surface was being pummeled by the downpour, and the muddy, filthy water was flowing into it. I couldn't even make out the motorbike I'd just thrown in there. It was pretty heavy, after all. It'd be quickly engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp, and it would be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing the man's motorbike down into the land of the demons, but I did have a tinge of regret about Satoshi's bat. I washed the bat with muddy water, and the gore sticking to it came off easily. I had sort of shared today's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning it to the locker from before, so it could continue to keep watch over Satoko.
Satoshi, I probably, misunderstood you.
Satoshi listened quietly, without nodding. I'm absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Satoko. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away, but I was wrong. To the rest of the world, some deviant was behind that incident. But I know. That was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that piece and lost it within days. So, I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for the both of us. I will live on as though this week, this day, never happened. But I'll never forget this short time we shared together for as long as I live. I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected that same girl, I felt he'd smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved of its own accord, and the bat I had hesitated to throw away left my hands and flew through the air.
It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. That surface was tempestuous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment, I regretted having thrown it. But I realized that might have been what Satoshi wanted.
You're right. I still can't let myself give in to emotion just yet.
I'd return for my shovel, get on my bike, dig a hole to hide the body, and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted, and I had to do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with the only advice that I needed to finish this up soon, and fell silent for eternity, and disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. I returned to the path I'd ambushed her uncle on. My bike was hidden, sleeping in the brush. I stood it back up. My whole body felt heavy. But I needed to finish by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I forgot something. I didn't just come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, if I let my guard down, my vision would almost go black. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maebara. It's still not over. I went into the grove of trees and looked for the hole in which I'd hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I'd hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen, and now everything was black in the night, and I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness, and realized just how big this annoyance really was.
Wait. You can't be serious.
The sweat, the rain washed away before it came back up to my skin. Deep, deep in the forest where the streetlights could never reach. The fact that it would be so pitch black had been completely uncalculated. With this much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I'd planned, I didn't know if I still could have buried him without a problem. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep into the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction and might actually get lost in there. That might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain a muscle. Alright, my house's storage room. There was another shovel there, the same fold-up kind. Couldn't I go back to the house, get the shovel, and give up on finding the shovel for tonight? It's not as though the name Mayabara is written on the shovel. But it seemed like an unusual item from an import variety store made in another country, so I didn't want to leave that shovel here. But in this total darkness, I couldn't do anything. I should give up and go back to the storage room. And there was an electric lantern in there. If I used that for light, I could look for it. But it was so extremely dark. Could I light the way with just the lantern? The light of a lantern in this dark night, I couldn't discard the possibility of it drawing eyes. And I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, I'd left the body there for a pretty long time already. My sense of fear, dulled through excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now, the most important thing to do was hide the body. A shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal, but a corpse?
I just wanted to point out, I think it's funny how the rain sounds fade in and out. It's like it's stopping raining and then starting raining again.
If they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First, I'd go back to the storage room at home. Then I'd get the lantern. Now that it's gotten this dark, I might still need light to dig a hole for the body, too. And I'd get the other shovel. And then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel, and bring it back. I had to. Had to do at least that much, but I was so tired. But complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything will have been for naught. At some point, I'd sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured, lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When would it all end? The night was young.
Okay, Ichi.
He's just such a silly guy.
You're just a silly guy. Just a silly little guy.
The lights at home were dazzlingly bright. Suddenly, they reminded me of how hungry I was. I checked the clock and saw that it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. Let me just shuffle my seating. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night.
It's kind of odd that it's so dark at 7 in summer to me, but I guess it depends on where you are in the hemisphere. Maybe? I don't know. Because here in the summer, it doesn't start getting like pitch black dark until like 8, 9 p.m. So, that's kind of wild.
It is also raining.
Yeah, that's fair. The rain isn't help, yeah.
There was a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited from the festival, and I'd be talking to my parents about how much fun I had with all my friends. And then, even though they made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much at the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt I'd crawl into my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. But right now I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth from those weak streetlights. Right now I was unconnected to any time spent with my family, and there was neither warm food nor the time to allow myself to sleep.
There we go.
My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. For what purpose did I need to kill someone so badly that it was worth feeling this terrible? I lost sight of that purpose. I selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Satoko, and executed it without hesitation. The man was dead. He was gone. He would never, ever hurt Satoko again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem, and finally, with no options, we gave up. And I had solved it in one night! By myself, without anyone's help! Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing when he'd return, and she might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath, nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I'd been thinking about for a long time was killing that man, and I'd forgotten the feeling that it was actually all to save her.
I did.
I did something good! That's right. I did something good, didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes. And that's when I first realized the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt, for a while now, had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much. It was so painful that I cried. I cried tears of joy at saving Satoko. I didn't know why, really, anymore. I just cried. My tears fell and fell as I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears. My heart was comforted a little. All right, Keiichi Maibara. That's enough.
The clap.
There's nothing to regret or feel ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow and the day after that, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. That was the indisputable fact that I had saved Satoko. One day we would surely be rewarded. One day I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise I'd undertaken to get Satoko's smile back. And so that I could wait for that day, I had to put the finishing touches on this night. If I left it undone, everything I'd accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then, I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse this very moment. That pessimistic thought was proof that the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for the other shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. It was fortunate I remembered what it looked like around the streetlight that the body was near. With how dark it was quite possible I wouldn't have been able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left this place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't even crossed my mind. And that's why I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Half the thing had already sunk into the swamp like a pool of water. I only realized afterward that there was an unused irrigation channel right nearby clogged with fallen leaves and dirt, and there was rainwater flowing in from there. My shoes had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation I stepped into the puddle. Luckily, the whole muddy stream washed it all away. I couldn't leave any slight traces like bloodstains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, then turned off the lantern. It became pitch black, but my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments, and once I managed to reach the streetlight on the other side, I was able to make out even faint lights. I stuck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser here than I thought, and the shovel's tip easily slid inside it. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose my energy and strength again. It felt almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. The digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and the water would go in, so I couldn't get any sense of how deep it was. The only way for me to measure it was to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's alright. Don't be disheartened. Dig. Dig. Dig! Occasionally a car would come by on the road, and I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing through. They wouldn't have their eyes peeled in this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I still couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't quite that one of those cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was that the distance I could spot cars from was getting gradually shorter. At first I noticed the splashing sounds from really far away as cars drove through them. I started noticing them less and less, and with the car that just passed by, I didn't notice it until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret, as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look all around me. I roused all my half-asleep senses and searched for signs of presence nearby. What if I found out someone was spying on me from the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole.
Oh.
I'd come this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I had to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one.
Cool line for me. Dots.
My 5 senses reached the conclusion that nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long had I been digging this mud out of here? It was deep enough for it to go up to my knees. Maybe this was enough. Maybe I'd throw the corpse in as a test. I swallow, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse. So instead, I dragged it by the feet into the hole. It took more than just a waggle and a tug to do it. But of course it did. Considering this man's weight was easily 80 kilograms. I rallied all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundless fears that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. All right, let's bury him. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If I did a perfect job of burying it here, everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would have ever happened. When I realized I only had a little farther to go finishing everything, I was racked with pointless anxiety, like I was in a race against time. It was like I was absorbed in a delusion, that if I didn't bury the body quickly, it might come back to life. In any case, in a great rush, I poured mud and dirt into the hole. If it didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw, I'd just kill them, but not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me, it would all be over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish, splash, squish, squash. I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying to make it flat. I was completely covered in mud at that point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked with panic, with fear, with rain, with sweat and mud.
Ah,
My
shit.
shoulders heaving.
There you
My
go.
text slipped. I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down right here and sleep. It was over. This time, for real. It was over. The man was now in the bottom of the wet dirt. Right this moment, there were traces that this place had been dug up, that the rain and flowing muddy water would completely cover it all within moments. Yes, it was over.
I did it. I did it. I did it. You motherfucker!
And then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So let's go home. You already buried the whole thing, so now it's like it never happened. It never happened, so there's no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed toward the light. I stood up my bike. It had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the basket. I put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I'd done with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corner of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even a little, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right hand. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars. I was swaying to and fro like a drunk. But I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two lights swaying slowly in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no, I need to get out of the way. From far away in the shadows of the darkness, a car appeared. Its dazzling light washed over me. The driver made a short honk of the horn to inform me I was in the middle of the road. I have to get out of the way. I kept telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed, I was exhausted, so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, 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 wobble. I meandered about, not going to the right or to the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the way right in front of me, and without lowering its speed much, steadily came towards me. Its outline grew larger in my vision, and telling myself again that I really needed to get out of the way, I jerked my handlebars in one direction, then lost my balance and fell over, bike and all. My whole body splayed out, and one foot caught in my bike. Ow.
Ouch.
That was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and just a cold sweat broke out on my skin. The driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, making a counterclockwise U-turn, and came right up to me and stopped. That's a crazy move to make in a downpour.
Mm-hmm.
The driver's seat door opened, and the driver came out.
I think I have a feeling I know who this is.
You idiot. What are you doing here? I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that.
Never mind. I was wrong again.
Who did you think it was gonna be?
I thought it was gonna be Oishi. Oh. Oh my. Look who it is. It was a woman. Oh. You wanna still do the narration and I'll just do Keiichi's
Sure.
voice? Yeah.
And Takano.
Yeah.
It was a woman's voice.
There you go.
And one I knew. I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her.
Takano-san. Good evening. The moon is very pretty tonight, my Barakun.
Sarcastic son of a bitch. It was raining far too hard to see the moon. Takano-san unfolded an umbrella and smiled as she spoke. That smile was, for some reason, uncanny. Like she'd seen right through me.
Is Takano the type of character that would say "ada ada"?
Yes, 100%! 100%! Honestly, next time she has a line, just like put on the voices for a second to listen to what she sounds like.
Oh boy.
Out of all the people I could have met, I got the sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now that I know what her Japanese sounds like, I can like really get into it. Also, there's an ad about to start. I'm sorry, everybody. I can't stop it now. So
We can't stop what has begun.
I can't stop it because I snoozed it 3 times. So I apologize if shit is coming up that is really important. If you don't want to miss it, you can watch the VOD later, or you can use an ad blocker. Yeah. What are you?
Shh, don't tell the Gubby.
Don't tell anybody. What are you doing out so late? And you're soaked and covered in mud, and no umbrella either. What is that? A shovel?
She'd come here via car. She wouldn't have known what I was just doing. And yet, she smiled, as though she knew everything. Calm down, Keiichi, my butter. She always makes that mysterious-looking smile, remember? Don't let her onto anything, lest you dig your own grave.
The rumors say you were playing baseball with a golf club. Is that what the shovel's for, too? You're using it as an umbrella?
I should tell a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out.
When I went with Rena to go digging for treasure at the dam, we forgot this there. And you went to get it in this downpour. When I left my house, I didn't think it would rain, so... Oh, it's been raining a while, though. You've been out for quite some time, haven't you? Well, yes. I was kind of wandering around. Even so. You came from that direction, didn't you? The dam is in the opposite direction, you know.
Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. And she played her little word games. She was enjoying driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess just from the situation of what I'd been doing. My timing really sucked to run into her of all people of all times.
Didn't he bring up, like, wouldn't it make sense if, Satoko's uncle was the next one to die from Oyashiro-sama's curse? Didn't he bring that up to Takano?
I think he did.
I think he did.
At the very end, I could only be frustrated at my terrible luck. I'd done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why at the very, very end did I run into her of all people?
She even brought it up, like, oh, it sounds like you want Satoko's uncle to die. So I think she fucking knows exactly what's happening right now.
What do you do, Keiichi Maebara? You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Will you silence Takano-san?
Uh-oh.
Even if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, dealing with the car she'd come in after would be an issue. No, it's fine. You can just drive it into the swamp like you did with the bike.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I couldn't drive a car. It was completely different from a motorbike. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof I killed her,
Yeah. In tonight's downpour without any prior planning, all by coincidence. A hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs with my initials on them, they'd never know I killed her. A black flame quietly smoldered and raged in the core of my body.
That's a scary look. Did I tease you too much?
Takano-san started to laugh by herself, and thankfully stopped talking about it. The dark clouds in my mind didn't go away.
Leaving that aside, how long are you planning on crawling on the ground with your bike like that? Would you mind moving out of the way?
If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, but then twisted my ankle in it and fell over.
Ow, shit!
There was a sharp pain in the ankle I'd twisted. This is nonsense. A sprained ankle now?
Oh my, are you alright? Did you twist your ankle? Oh, poor baby.
She'd so be like that about it.
Oh.
Takano-san squats down and takes a good look at the ankle I keep rubbing. She compares it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad my wound was.
Can you stand?
I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do to shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Takano-san then looked at her watch, then at her car, and after thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door, and then gave me her shoulder to stand up with.
I'll take you home. I do feel bad, since it's almost like I hit you. I'm sorry. I wouldn't just leave you there. It's a good thing I'm a nice person.
Yeah, real good. Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person.
No!
That would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. I took Takano's hands and sat down in the passenger seat. Takano-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the ground.
I don't suppose we could take the bicycle home tomorrow?
I could cleanly tell from her face that she thought it would be a pain since it would be heavy and it would get her car dirty. But my bike has the name Mayabata written on it. I couldn't leave it out here like this.
Well, can you somehow put it in the car? I sort of need it. The trunk is already full. If I put it in the back seat, it'll get the seats dirty with mud. Well, given how you're already in here, it's already dirty, I suppose.
I turn back to the back seat and see someone's folding bicycle there already.
What the fuck is in the trunk? Tomitake-san. His dead body. That's my guess, anyway.
It still looked big enough to fit my bike in there as well. My expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact thought seemed to get through to her.
Alright. I'll put it in here for you. I'll be really nice, but just for tonight, okay?
Takano-san continued with her mean jokes, but she hoisted my bike and loaded it onto the back seat for me. The mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about that eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the buried body and to me.
Sorry to ask another favor, but could you get my shovel too?
Takano-san gave me a clearly dubious expression.
Your shovel? That's fine with me. Is it important?
The more I talk, the worse it gets for me.
Yeah?
That's how I felt, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takano-san gave a short shrug and sighed.
Alright, I understand. You need your shovel, right? You don't need to make such a mean face.
Takano-san brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I'd never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look.
Okay, let's be off. Maibata-kun, you live at the Maibata mansion, don't you? Why does everyone call my house the Maibata mansion? Because it's actually a mansion. It must be nice to be rich.
As she spoke, Takano-san pulled the handbrake and stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she steadily increased in speed. From the rearview mirror, that accursed place seemed to melt into the darkness.
Read? Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you. What was that? Oh, that's you.
Takano-san suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing one more time.
The body. How well was it buried?
I thought my heart might beat out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. But my lungs are squeezed tight, and I couldn't breathe.
What are you talking about? When burying bodies in mountains like these, you have to bury it fairly deep because wild dogs will often smell the corpse and dig it out. Some human bone a wild dog brings back in its mouth leads to an incident being uncovered. The police head out to a stretch of mountains. It actually happens pretty often, you know. I love all the happy faces. Of course she knew!
Pound, pound, clang, clang. Huge rusted bells start ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could stay it absolutely wouldn't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with that I couldn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait! Anyway, this woman, how does she know? She had just passed by here in her car by coincidence, and we ran into each other by coincidence. If she'd been watching the entire thing from the trees, and once I left, she came back in her car, it didn't make any logical sense. So then, why? Keiichi Mayapara, that's it. You need to kill her! My entire body reawakened, and I could feel my pupils dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death with a shovel in such a small car. Then, I'd use my hands and strangle her. But she was driving right now. If I strangled her, we might get into an accident. Then suddenly Takano-san turned and looked at me.
What? No witty retort?
For a moment, I was surprised. What was she talking about?
It would seem we're not a very good match.
Takano-san said, disappointed, returning her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she said a few times in my head and finally realized she'd meant it as an off-color joke. Oh, I didn't know whether it really a joke, but I wouldn't be able to fool her no matter how many lies I told. Right now, with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. I would have an even harder time doing it when I got back to my house. That moment we met, that had been my best chance. And to have missed it so easily, it hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in an almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I run into? With everything that happened today, I managed to pull it off, and at the very end of it all, I just had to go home and go back to sleep. But bad luck. As my sleepiness gradually overtook me, the anxiety I felt steadily started to matter less and less. Is this all right, Keiichi Mayabata?
Oh yes, Keiichi did do it. Sloppily. He did do
You
it.
probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now, I'm tired. She stepped on the brakes and I jerked against my seatbelt. That woke me up. I thought I must have fallen asleep by accident. I looked out the window, and there was a big building with faint lights on. It was really dark out, but I knew immediately it was my house.
I'll go get your folks for you. Would you mind the place for a few moments while I'm gone. She's gonna tell them. Don't make fun of me, please. Besides, look, I'm fine now. I can walk by myself. Oh my. You were in such pain before that you had to get me to carry you. Did you just want a pretty lady to be nice to you? I love her.
As Takano-san spoke, she left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling raindrops was fierce as always.
I fucking love her. She's my favorite.
I carefully reached down and rubbed the ankle I'd twisted. There was still some pain and a little weirdness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than being happy about how light the wound was, I first regretted this whole thing. If I hadn't twisted my ankle, I could have still taken the option of killing Takano-san right then and there. There probably wasn't much doubt that Takano-san was convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. If she knew about everything happening with Satoko, then she might have even guessed who'd killed somebody. Click, click. Takano-san opened the passenger side door for me. Oh, there's the YouTube episode title, by the way. Twisted Ankles and Twisted Women.
I don't really name the YouTube videos like that, but that is...
No, but you could, just for this one, and then never do it ever again.
I will put it in the caption in the thumbnail with the picture, with the CG of Takano that we saw before. Twisted Ankles and Twisted Women. Yeah.
You don't have to do that to be
No,
clear.
I want to do it now. So people know what this episode is about if they already know Higurashi. Anyway, you're sure you don't need my shoulders? I wouldn't mind doing it for you again.
I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car myself. The rain was still pretty intense. I got my bicycle out of the back seat. I was a bit curious who the other bike belonged to, but that didn't matter right now. I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me, then pushed my bicycle up to the front door.
Thank you very much. I'll be fine now.
My ankle hurt so much earlier, and it still did, but it aggravated me that it hadn't even been that bad. It was really, seriously terrible luck.
All right. I will be leaving then. Keep it a secret that we had a nice evening drive together by ourselves, okay? Especially from Jiro-san.
Jiro-san?
Jiro-san.
Oh, she meant Tomitake-san. I suppose she calls him by his first name, because they fucking... His full name must be Jiro Tomitake, then.
Don't let Tomitake know that I was in the car with a 14-year-old boy.
It really wasn't like that.
No.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And then the other bike, the folding one in the back seat that I didn't care about at first, suddenly came to mind.
Tomitake's in the trunk! I know he is!
Hey, excuse me. You're from Hinamizawa, right? On the day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam half asleep, Tomitake-san had talked to me. And the bicycle he'd been riding, it was...
That bicycle in the back belongs to Tomitake-san, doesn't it?
Takano-san's eyes, I think they sharpened for a moment.
She and Keiichi are shaking hands right now. And why do you think that? I saw it when I met him before. The frame stood out to me. But wouldn't that be odd? Do you think it's possible for this to be Jiro-san's bike? Odd, huh?
Takano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peers into my eyes.
Well, there are no bed and breakfasts in Hinamizawa, are there? Jiro-san would need to be staying in town. Is that so? Well, I guess that's right, huh? You can't really walk from town to Hinamizawa, can you? And there are no buses either. You at least need a bicycle.
She didn't need to tell me that. That's why Jiro-san was riding a bike.
for Jiro-san's bicycle to be stowed in my car, and him not in there. That would be strange, wouldn't it? It would mean Jiro-san was in Hinamizawa without a bike. I'd have to have left Jiro-san somewhere and put his bike in the car, wouldn't I? It wouldn't make sense. She wants you to figure it out. She wants you. Sorry.
As she spoke, Takano-san made eyes like a hawk. Unfortunately, I didn't really understand what was so odd.
What's in your trunk? What about that is odd? Aren't you and Tomitake-san friends? I don't really think it would be strange for there to be some reason you had his bicycle in your car. But it would be. What I mean is, Jiro-san and his bicycle being in different places in Hinamizawa wouldn't make sense. And for those reasons, it means this bicycle can't be his. Do you understand now?
Takano-san's roundabout way of talking was hard to comprehend. But that eeriness I could feel, that vague dreadfulness, I didn't like it at all. But the most wild, instinctive part of me warned me not to pry.
What if she just goes, he wouldn't be able to get back if I left him somewhere without his bicycle. Oh, fuck, I left him! That'd be funny. That's my bicycle. Jiro-san picked it out for me, though, so I can't deny that it looks alike. Ah, I see now. I thought it looked similar. Oh! You and I never saw each other tonight.
And now she was talking about something completely different.
What are you talking about? You and I never saw each other tonight.
I stared there, not knowing what to say, and Takano-san repeated her eerie, succinct phrase to me again.
You and I never met this night. You and I never saw each other tonight.
Something cold and unpleasant crawled up my spine.
Gil, I can fix her. Yeah, me too, buddy.
Me too. I knew because I'd killed a person with my own hands before. Before, I came to the conclusion that I only had one chance to beat this woman to death to keep her quiet, and I couldn't hesitate, so I could tell that she'd arrived at the very same conclusion.
But lady, I can see you right there.
My instincts warned me again. I wish I'd never met this woman. The faint sense, like a rotten smell, drifting from this woman, was no doubt the exact same sense that I was giving off right now. The very peculiar aspiration, the lack of uncertainty at taking a human's life for a purpose, one that only those who have risen above everything had. Actually, maybe I should have called it a nausea. It meant, and I didn't know how to explain this very well, that Takano-san was the same as me.
Yep.
In other words, someone who shouldn't have been here. Someone I couldn't have let anybody know was here. Someone who nobody would have wanted to see. And now that we could calmly pretend as though we'd never met. Yeah. Which meant that, just like I wanted nothing else to do with her, she didn't want anything to do with me either. And she too wanted to make it so that we'd never met. Both of us wished for the same thing. Our desires were the same, which meant Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical, and that I couldn't outright refuse.
If that's fine with you, then sure, whatever. You and I didn't meet this night. You're right. That would be best for you too, wouldn't it? Why do you think that? Oh, she's got the crazy eyes! Are you seriously asking me that? You can't figure that out on your own, boy.
She cut me off with the condescending word, boy. Right in front of my house, in a place most unsuited to killing. And yet, there was a frozen thirst for blood coming from both of us. I would be killed. Right here, right now. Yeah. Then I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A damp, greasy sweat broke out on my body. That's fine. If you want me, then you can come anytime. And when I made up my mind, she shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel.
Good. I am a kind person, after all.
Okay. What was good? How? Because she was a kind person? Was that it? I didn't get it. Takano-san got into her car. We didn't exchange any words of parting. I performed a massive feat, the killing of Satoko's uncle, and yet I didn't feel any kind of accomplishment. On the holy night of Oyashiro-sama's curse, on which the taking of another's life was allowed. On the terribly rainy night when the demons wandered as agents of Oyashiro-sama's will. The demons were never supposed to meet, but suddenly, they did. The demons parted ways triumphantly. There was no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had already been accomplished. With the rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met with Takano-san's through the car window. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. That first moment, the very first moment we saw each other, had been my best chance. And now that we parted like this, I was acutely aware of it. I should not have let her live. She beeped her horn quickly, then drove away in the deluge. The one woman who knew what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, this night wouldn't really ever end. Just get into an accident, I thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on some mud or something and fly face first into a tree and die. That wasn't a delusion, a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish. Yeah, it was a command. Die! Die! And keep your mouth shut for eternity! Because I have no doubt you're wishing for me to die all the same. My curse upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's tail lights disappeared into the utter darkness. Her car's lights were completely out of sight now. Even the sound of the engine faded into the sound of the heavy rain and was inaudible now. I, too, turned on my heel. To draw the curtains on this insane night. To open my front door and end it all. I began walking towards the front door. I was covered in mud and I made a squishing sound at every step I took. Squish, squish. Don't worry, Keiichi Maebara. Squish, squish. She'll die. Squish, squish. Her end will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into some flames alive and let her dance until she's burned to a crisp. I'll burn her to ashes in the fires of hell itself until she's roasted as much as she deserves.
I wish. I really do.
Squish. Huh. Just now, I hadn't taken a step. And yet, a footstep. Without emotion, I turned around. If there was a footprint that wasn't my own, then it was obvious someone else was behind me. Was somebody else there? I was sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. This time I would kill them. I'd kill them without a second thought. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. But fortunately, there was nobody there.
This reminds me of chapter 1. This was an occurrence in chapter 1 toward the end where he felt like a presence that wasn't actually there and would like swing wildly. Like he swung wildly at like the entrance of his house and like made a fucking mess. I remember that.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna have to kill any more people tonight. This night, I couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I put it down to me just being tired.
That's gotta be the end of this chapter, right?
Takano, you're so fucking weird.
I love her. I love her so much.
Amore.
That's amore.
Takano, you're so fucking weird, I say with lust.
Fire from hell! We got new tips. Women. All right, should we read the tips and then sign out?
Yeah. Taking extra steps. Brushed by a close encounter.
Yeah. Okay, and while we read the tips, I can make a quick little poll for a short bonus game. I won't play that much because we have been going on quite a long time.
Yeah.
So, bonus game. Pokemon Infinite Fusion. Or Magic Pen Shell. Let's do that for... Let's do 3 minutes, because I don't think this will take that long. And...
Psyche goes for a half hour.
Oh my god, I would
Just
cry.
kidding.
I would cry.
I don't actually know that. I don't think that's true.
Alright, there is a poll if you guys want to vote for a little aftercare stream game. Because... Oh! I mean, this didn't have a whole lot of abuse going on, but...
It's still heavy to take the life of someone else, no matter how terrible they are.
Yeah. Oh wait, let's view new tips. There we go. It was really intense and really drawn out and really good. It was amazing. Fire from Hell. I can read these since you've been narrating for quite a bit.
Sure.
Sure. Let's go. Hello? Do you need the hospital or the fire department? The fire department. Is there a fire or some other accident? Please speak slowly and calmly. I think it's a fire. This is a rest area on the highway. I can see a ton of fire and smoke coming up from the mountains behind us. Nobody goes back there, so I don't know why anything got lit on fire. Anyway, I figured I should let you know. He doesn't have the lantern. He dropped the lantern. Oh.
But even if he had, it's raining. A lot.
Oh! But he left the lantern! Motherfucker, that's evidence! My dumb son. Can't get away with murder. Get turned into a forest fire. I understand. I need to know exactly where you are, so please tell me your name, a phone number we can use to get in touch with you, and the exact location of the fire. Notice from the fire department headquarters. We have a report of a suspicious fire on the western slopes of Blank Mountain. Given its distance from the road, it could be a couple's bonfire or someone unlawfully burning trash. The location is deep in the woods. No homes in the area, but the fire could spread. That is very strange that there's a fire after a downpour. Immediately go to the site to verify. Is this the fire station? This is the Blank District Fire Department branch. We arrived moments ago at the reported area. Fire confirmed to be a burning oil drum left in the mountain. Burning oil drum! That's where they found Takano. Last chapter. The fire is calming, and there is no chance it will spread. And, well, in the oil drum, I think it might be a person. Like a person burned with kerosene, or something. Well, I think maybe we should get the police over here. There's no mistaking it. This is a person.
Someone once again has been burned in an oil drum in the mountains.
It has to be Takano. Victim of the 5th year. This is the 5th year, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year is cursed, then. Oh, here, you can read this. Oh, Pokemon.
That's what it looks like. He kills them differently every year, but this is particularly conspicuous, isn't it?
Clawing out your own throat. This isn't normal.
Let's leave the rest of the old man in forensics. I'm sure I'll find some suspicious drugs.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Oh, Oishi-san, Komiyama-san, and the others have arrived. Oishi-san, much appreciated. Well, it would seem we have a pretty crazy one this year.
Yeah, we've been outsmarted. I was absolutely under the impression Teppei Hojo would get killed tonight.
Who is the deceased?
Jiro Tomitake, a photographer with a hobby of coming to Hinamizawa a few times a year. We didn't even have him marked.
I wonder what happened. Did they realize we were watching the Hojo residence the whole time and decide to switch their target?
Maybe. We sure flubbed this one.
And there are no problems with Teppei Hojo.
Correct. His daughter left for the festival in the evening, and a little while later he left on his motorbike. His daughter came back for... Wait. Has he not come back yet? Is he still out drinking somewhere? Detective, are you there? Call from Chief Takasugi.
Ah.
He's on the line, car 1.
We really fucked this one up tonight, boys.
It's blue in there and blue in my heart.
Okay, I don't need to save again, but I'll do it anyway.
Wait, did I save?
Wait, hold on. We have 2 more chapters! Ah! The pain. I can't believe how little any other character but Keiichi talked. I can't believe.
This is kind of a Keiichi heavy chapter.
Yeah. So there's 2 more chapters left. Teppei is dead. Teppei is dead. Keiichi killed him. Takano knows. Takano probably killed Tomitake. So, I'm also looking forward to the next stream. That's probably going to be the last one because we have 2 more chapters. They're probably going to be hefty and we're probably going to go longer like we did today. But, oh my god. He's dead! Yay! Wow. I am still going to play just a little bit of Pokemon probably. A very small amount of Pokemon to kind of cool down before completely ending stream. But Cal, if you want to head out.
Oh yeah, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick little chat though about everything before we skedaddle.
Yeah, let me also do this for you all because like if you want to be disruptive, you can. Yay! The happiness is here. Okay. Okay. So. Let me also check the I'm checking all the activity feed. And it's mostly just people redeeming things during the break. I got a follow. Thank you. Sexy as hell. Appreciate that.
This is not Chris's blood.
And, alright. Alright, chat. What did y'all think? What did y'all think? What did y'all think? What are your thoughts? What are our thoughts if you don't already know what this, like, you know, what Stardust Wishes came in kind of late. But let's summarize. Let's summarize real quick. So, Keiichi actually made a plan to kill Satoko's uncle, and he followed through with it. He got a bat. He got Satoshi's bat, specifically. Satoko's brother's bat, who he now suspects is the one who killed Satoko's aunt. And then he had to skip town because he didn't want to get found out. So he probably did that for the sake of Satoko. So, we also found out that he probably did buy the stuffed animal and then just suddenly disappeared. The stuffed animal that he was going to buy for Satoko for her birthday. So.
I'm gonna switch my mic over real quick.
You what?
I'm gonna switch my mic over real quick so I can walk around.
Alright, cool.
Shitty mic, activate.
Shitty mic, activate. So, Keiichi made a plan to, 1, get Satoko out of the house, and 2, Watanagashi, so she could get her mind off everything and be away from her uncle. So, he asked Mion, can you do that? And Mion kind of, like, got a bit, like, I'd say triggered, because Satoshi made the same exact call on the same exact night a year previously. And then Satoshi disappeared. So she freaked out a moment and was like, oh no, now Keiichi's gonna disappear. Holy shit. And she also reveals that she also had the thought that Satoshi probably killed Satoko's aunt, who also abused Satoko very horribly. So Keiichi made the plan to lure Satoko's uncle out, wait for him on the path, and beat him to death with a baseball bat. And he did that. He sure did do that. He sure did do that. Beat him to death with a baseball bat and chased him deep into the woods. It was completely dark. He also dug a hole to bury him into and then lost track of the hole, had to go get a different shovel and dig a different hole and then bury him in there. And who better to run into than Takano, who most definitely also just committed a murder. Was it against Tomitake? Maybe.
Who knows?
Who knows? You know, but you're not going to tell me, of course. I don't want to know. Who can say? Something was in her trunk, and I'm suspicious because she had Tomitake's bike, and she had Tomitake's body in her trunk. I know she did. That's how she knew that Keiichi just killed someone. I don't know if she knows who he killed. She probably does because Keiichi made it very clear that he wanted Satoko's uncle dead. So, fucking Christ. Honestly, I didn't know he'd go through with it. I didn't think he would. I thought he was gonna chicken out and be like, no, this is stupid. And then not do it. But he did it. It's crazy. Honestly, that's kind of freaky to me. It's kind of freaky. So, chat. What are our thoughts and theories? Do we think Takano killed Tomitake? Do we think the body in the oil drum is Takano, just like last time? Tomitake apparently clawed his own throat out again, for the third time. Do we know?
Yeah.
There's so much to think about. I had a theory at the start of the stream that Satoshi ran away to get away from Satoko. I still kind of have that theory in my head, but I do, like, I had the theory early on that Satoshi was the one that killed the ant. And I think that holds a bit of truth. I think that does hold a bit of truth. I think she killed Chris. Okay. Okay. Jokes!
I don't think she did kill Chris. Because Chris isn't a real guy in this.
Didn't one of the girls mention that his eyes changed colors for a moment or something at school? Yes, sort of. Rena kind of was like, also commented on his voice being different. It's like he is possessed by Oyashiro-sama, or even Satoshi. Maybe Satoshi is Oyashiro-sama. Who knows? Maybe Takano is Oyashiro-sama. Who knows? I've not been watching most streams, but it's so toys. It's so like the toys are the murderers. Maybe. I bet it was the butler that did it. Why did I expect to have a serious conversation with my chat? I don't know why I expected this.
I'll say this for free. It is not the toy. That's fucking stupid.
I mean, it is jokes, but it's mysteries all the way down. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, share your thoughts. Obviously, if you already if you don't have know what is gonna happen, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments on YouTube. Playing toys. These streams are fun. They're like toys. Oh, I understand now. That's cute. Okay. I rescind my statement of being like, why can't I have a serious conversation with my chat? Except I don't, because most of y'all are being goofy. But on that note, I actually kind of, I'm hungry as fuck. Maybe I will play Pokemon for you all tomorrow, because I know the game I'm playing tomorrow is a little shorter. So I can play Pokemon for you guys tomorrow. Don't quote me on this, but I think Keiichi might have killed somebody. Yeah, true. That's true. That's fair. Yeah. No, it's been 4 hours. I'm hungry. All I had was a bagel and a banana right before stream, and I want some food.
Please eat something.
So I would like to eat. So may just call it for today, and come back tomorrow with a new game. It's all about this festival. Yes. I like this rain ambience. It's nice. Okay. So let's just go to the stream ending.
I'm gonna get out of here.
Get out of here. I'll see you later,
Damn.
buddy.
See you later, my buddy, my fellow.
My friend. Goodbye. I'm gonna
Bye.
disconnect. Beep. He's gone. And tomorrow, I will be playing another visual novel, actually, called Sucker for Love. It is a horror game, and also a visual novel, like I already said. It's a dating sim, as far as I know. As far as I know, it has romance in it. That one is fun. Yeah, I hear it was made for the Dread X collection, and I like the stuff from Dread X, so, you know. I also got gifted the sequel, which I hear is a bit creepier, and longer. And I was like, well, I gotta play the first one first. How long has Scorch been going? I saw he was playing Elden Ring a while ago. Okay. We're gonna go say hi to Scorch. Again! We love Scorch here. Thank you for being here, you guys. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 6 p.m. We're gonna go raid Scorch. If you haven't followed Scorch yet, you should. Generally, Friday nights... We didn't do it yesterday because we were both tired as fuck. But Friday nights, we do Scaredy Cats, playing games together. You know. Sometimes we play Cult of the Lamb drunk. It's fun. But also, Scorch is just a cool guy. Cool and funny guy. You should follow him. Let me make sure that is correct. That is correct! Scorch is playing Elden Ring right now. Probably with Dusk. Yes. With Dusk. Alright. Have a good night. I'm gonna eat something. And... so long.